What's up, guys? I don't know what happened. It froze up and then it said stream ended, which I hadn't even started yet. But now we're back. But hope everyone had a great weekend. Hope you stay cool. That picture was taken from Ponte Vedra Boulevard earlier today. The water in Jax Beach is a 10 out of 10 right now. We've had pretty much east, northeast winds. It's east, southeast right now. But the water's gorgeous. Candy, Pompano candy. There's plenty of sand fleas if you want some candy. There's plenty of sand fleas in Ponte Vedra. I stopped by Jax Beach later in the afternoon. I didn't see any sand fleas. Now I do know there's some in Neptune Beach, but in South Jax Beach I didn't see any. But the tide was also coming in. But right now, Ponte Vedra is just holding a phenomenal amount of sand fleas, and they're literally all sizes, guys. Just take what you need. I keep hearing reports down south. They're having a lot of issues just finding sand fleas, so only take what you need and don't kill. We need those sand fleas to keep laying eggs. What's up, Buckness? Winds, though, are about to switch, so we may see a water change coming up. Tuesday, they're calling for east-southeast winds, switching over to the southeast by the afternoon, 10 to 15. Then on Wednesday and Thursday, I saw southeast to south winds 10 to 20. And we're supposed to get some thunderstorms in the afternoons on Wednesday and Thursday possibly. So if that wind cranks up out of the southeast more than, say, 12 to 15, we're going to see it start to get dirty. Now down south, they're having issues with red slime. That's what they're telling me. If anyone's on here watching and you know what that is, tell me. I've never seen it up here. I know what red tide is, but I've never seen red slime. And apparently when it hits the waters, you might as well pack up and leave because the fish don't bite in it. But we are still catching fish up here in Northeast Florida. The water temperatures are extremely warm right now, 84 to 85 degrees. And those temperatures just continue to jump a few more degrees in the next month or so if we continue on this trend, which if you've lived in Florida long enough, you know we're in for a lot of 90s and heat indexes of 100, 110s. But over the weekend, even in the warm water, in the clean water, lots of good catches of whiting. Most of them were caught on sand fleas that they were digging up right at their feet and throwing them out into the slough. And there are actually a couple keeper pompano caught, 12, 14 inches. Saw some good reports of speckled trout up and down the beach. Not just limited to like structure, they're actually cruising up and down the beach in search of food. On Friday afternoon, there was a school of glass minnows in Jax Beach, and they were getting hammered by kings, tarpon, and tons of Spanish were jumping out of the water. So any of you guys who like to fish for Spanish mackerel, if you got a good spinner or you can cast a bait caster really far, get something like a diamond jig. If you've never seen it, it is a fantastic lure and it will launch at a mile. It's literally just a weight painted silver with a treble hook, and it resembles like a glass minnow. You throw it into those schools and you'll probably hook up on Spanish and blues immediately. I would suggest early in the morning and right before dark. Right now, the middle of the day has not been doing quite as well. A lot of the reports I saw, the people were going in the morning and in the evening. Now, if we get a day where there's cloud cover, like the rain chances go up pretty good. Starting Wednesday, I believe, 50 to 60% chance. So on days like that, if the water's still clean and storm comes through and it's not lightning, I don't fish in lightning, guys. That cloud cover, I will fish in that in the middle of the day because not only does it provide us some cover, provides those fish some cover in that clean water. When that water is super clear and you have no clouds in the sky, middle of the day is no bueno. You see the ospreys all flying overhead. Those fish can see those shadows. You think they're going to hang around in shallow? Not usually. That does change, though, in the fall when the mullet run starts, because the sun's not quite as intense and those fish aren't really worried about clean or dirty water at that point. They're worried about eating mullet and getting fat for the winter. That's what they do. They eat those mullet while they can. If you don't want to hit the surf and target whiting, and go after the sharks. Just make sure you have your shark. Go online on fwc.com, I believe, and just take your little shark class. It's free, so might as well. I've seen some stud sharks caught, 5-footers, 6-footers the last few days. And believe it or not, while you're shark fishing, you may hook a tarpon because the tarpon are cruising the beach pretty well. If you got a kayak, well, you can't get out there right now. It's 2 to 4 foot surf. But if it does calm down, take your kayak out and you'll catch a king, guys. The kings are on the beach right now. I mean, I'm seeing them skyrocket when I'm fishing from the surf, and they're only 100, 120 yards past the breakers. So they're there. And especially if you find a school of pogies, you're going to find everything in it. Barracudas, Jack Crevalles, kingfish, and tarpon. And underneath those schools of pogies, you're going to have, of course, as many sharks as you want, and big redfish, and at times big speckled trout. I remember right before the pier closed, like that year in this, like July or August, there was a school of pogies in shallow in like 5 foot of water, and there were tarpon everywhere. So I rigged up the rod and snagged a pogie, put him out there, threw him out. Thought I had a tarpon. It was like a 4.5 pound trout. He hit it, smacked it, and took off. And I said, wait a minute, it's coming in too easy. This is no tarpon. It was a big trout. And so I went back to float fishing, trying to catch some more trout. And what do you think the tarpon hit? Pitched the live shrimp out. And as the shrimp was sinking down, about 100, 110 pound tarpon came up, grabbed the shrimp, headed east. And luckily I only had 12 pound leader on my trout rig. So he left with just the hook, or else I was about to lose about 250 yards of braid. That's not cheap. But that's how that usually works. They don't hit the rig you need them to hit to where you could actually fight them. But it was still fun. It'd have been fun to have a video of that tarpon. It was like in slow motion. Threw out the shrimp and he was just sinking down, and that tarpon just slowly came up and grabbed him and took off. And if you haven't seen it, if you don't follow our Facebook page, Broken Reel, I guess Sunday afternoon, quite a few people thought those no trespassing signs and construction zone signs didn't matter. So they were literally pulling the fence back at the pier and all walking out on the pier. I mean, there was probably over a couple hundred people within an hour that walked out there, and the cops showed up and ended that. But what's crazy is if someone would have got hurt out there, my goodness, they would have probably sued the city, even though they completely ignored the big signs that say no trespassing. But it should be open hopefully soon. We don't know yet. No, they're keeping us in the dark. Sounds like both sides, the city and the city of Jax Beach, haven't come to an agreement to who or what vendor is going to run it. So as soon as I find out, I'll relay it to everyone on here. And imagine when it first opens, guys, if you've never pier fished, I probably wouldn't suggest fishing it when it first opens, first couple of weeks, because it will probably be a madhouse. And they've actually mentioned making it a free pier. And I have my thoughts about that. I don't think it would be a good thing. I've noticed, unfortunately, in this day and age, yeah, I know, Robert. In this day and age, free doesn't get taken care of for some reason. I go to a lot of the parks around here, to play basketball, and they're free parks, but there's constantly trash in them, and they're just not well maintained for the most part. So is that what we're going to look at for a free pier? Who knows? I just know people take a little bit more pride when they have to pay for something versus when it's free. I look at it as my kids. When I give them stuff and it breaks, it's, they're a little upset, but they didn't put that money into it. When we make them buy their stuff with their own money, it's a completely different attitude. They don't want it to get it broke. So that's what I'm hoping for. If they can't get it open, the main thing is that they can't get it, if they don't have a vendor in place, they'll just open it until they get a vendor in place. But honestly, I just want them to get it open and open it right. Let's not cause any more issues with this pier. It's been 6 years, so I think we've waited long enough. Not real sure why they waited until the pier is literally done, and they're cleaning up the parking lot to decide, well, let's see who should run it. They've had 6 years to do this, so yeah, I could stay on that, chase that rabbit down a hole for a long time, but let's just talk about fishing, I guess. It gets a little annoying. Someone asked me, would I ever run for city council or a mayor? I said, absolutely not, because then I'd have to become a politician, and I don't want none of that, guys. I just want to be a fisherman who helps other fishermen. So if y'all got any questions, y'all know where to leave them in the comments. If the water stays clean, there's still some fish to catch. If you don't want to hit the surf, like I said, there's other things to target. Go in the river. They are absolutely wearing out the flounder right now on mud minnows, mullet, fish bites. Pretty much anything you can drag across their face, they're eating. And there are some really nice flounder. Some 22, 24, 25-inch flounder coming up. Some nice speckled trout. There's still some reds. And if you don't want to fish, grab your net, because they are wearing out the big shrimp as well. If you like the shrimp, while the fishing is a little bit, it's not, the fishing isn't on fire, but there are fish around. There's also mangrove snapper in pretty good numbers. But now's a good time, guys, to actually stock up on shrimp for the fall run of the whiting and pompano. You could freeze a bunch of those shrimp. I usually freeze them in about half-pound bags and in pound bags, depending on what I'm going for and how well they're biting. You don't want to freeze too many at one time, because then you're going to waste them after you unthaw them. But I like to freeze them. I freeze them in salt water. Seems to preserve them pretty good. Don't use tap water to freeze them in, because you got chlorine and all the other chemicals, and the fish will still eat them, but it's just something about it. They can smell that, I think. But stock up now. That way in the fall, when the fish are on fire, you're not having to go catch them then and go fishing. You'll have them, just pull them out of your freezer. We'll be back the end of this week. We might have a video in between. Hopefully the water stays clean. Hopefully we have a report for you guys. There's snook in the river too. I saw a few pictures from yesterday of 25, 26-inch snook that were hitting live shrimp on the float. So you never know what you're going to get in our river with this hot water. There's all kinds of fish cruising. Like I said, hit it early and hit it late. And make sure you hydrate. We don't want to read about you on the news that you passed out on the beach and had your rod pulled in by a shark or a stingray while you were passed out on the beach, guys. Until next time, tight lines.